Now the world don't move to the beat of just one drum. What might be right for you may not be right for some. A man is born, he's a man of means. Then along come two, they got nothing but the genes. They got different strokes it takes, different strokes it takes, different strokes to move the world. Everybody's got a special kind of story. Everybody finds a way to shine. It don't matter that you got not a lot. So what? They'll have theirs, you'll have yours, and I'll have mine. And together we'll be fine. As it takes different strokes to move the world. Yes, it does. It takes different strokes to move the world.
We are the ones who don't know what we're fighting for. Give us a gun and send us all off to war. We are the ones who grow up in violent homes. We are the ones who don't know what's right or wrong. I know. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No more. We are the ones who don't know why we're losing score. Give them a badge so they could send us to the morgue. We are the ones who are scared to walk out the door. We are the ones who don't know what we're dying for. I know. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No. Get off his fucking neck. Love that makes you know. He can't fucking breathe. Love that makes you know. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more.
Warning: this podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. If it's Thursday, you're tuned into the only podcast that's going to give you what you need, not necessarily what you want. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, I have got a glorious panel here with me to get into all the shit talking and shenanigans, the fuckery and fight announcements that have trickled out of the MMA pipeline since we saw you wonderful folks last. But before we get into all of that, first and foremost, gentlemen, how you doing over there?
Oh, I'm fucking hot under the collar about last week, but we're good. minus the fact that we have another subpar. Well, it's a hangover card, but not the worst hangover card that we've seen.
There you go.
I can definitely agree with that. I'm happy we still got fights now. Football's fucking done. That sad ass fucking game we had this past weekend. It's now become Voldemort. We can never talk about it again.
That's right. That's right.
What game? I think I must have missed that.
The Puppy Bowl.
Oh, it's a good thing you missed that.
Schnauzers cheated their way to victory. It was bad.
I'm not gonna lie. Even though it was not my team in there watching that was fucking ugly both ways.
Yeah,
the refs both sides were fucking horrendous. Right, the first flag of the game was horrendous. There was flags on the other side that were horrendous. I'm going, who the fuck let these guys ref this? This is the most important game of the year, and you're not letting the players play. Get the fuck out.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say the game that went down last weekend was much like the UFC 312 card in that expectations were much higher than that they were delivered. In that vein, though, I do want to take just a moment before we get into the news and actually talk about UFC 312 just a little bit. We don't usually do this, but I feel that this weekend in particular needs an extra little fucking addendum, a little asterisk next to its fucking performance review. Two things real quick, and I'll throw it back to you gentlemen to see if you agree with me or not. But at least from my point of view here, two things, just the co-main and the main event real quick. Co-main event. All I fucking heard last week and maybe 2 weeks before leading into Saturday was how Tatiana Suarez was the fucking uncrowned champion, was that she was going to have her fucking way. She was going to do this and she was going to do that. And it was just a matter of time before they got Tatiana in there. And then at the end of the fucking night, not only did she get her ass worked like a rented fucking mule for 25 fucking minutes, top to bottom, she went 1 for 14 in takedown attempts. Her strong suit got controlled for more time than she controlled Wei Li during the fight. Her strong suit, her significant strikes landed in total. Round 1, 8. Round 2, 0. Round 3, 1. Round 4, 0. Round 5, 1. I'm done hearing the quote unquote folks who know talk about the uncrowned this and the uncrowned that. There's a reason that you heard right here last weekend. You can cheer for Tatiana all you want, but don't say shit about uncrowned till she goes up against the fucking champion, because look what fucking happened. All that hype, all that patchy mixed fucking hype reel that she had going on, all the shit that she sold everybody came down to be a big fat fucking goose egg. She got worked, and I don't even want to hear her name in top conversations again.
Hit the goddamn horn. We're doing it now. Fuck it. You're going to come in here running your mouth about something where you think we're fucking wrong. We've been watching for a long goddamn time. I don't care who the fuck you are. We don't talk out of our ass. Yeah, we might talk bad about some fighters we just don't like, but that's because we don't like them. But in the case of Tatiana Suarez, I didn't dislike the girl. I just fucking knew. You go back and you look at the strength of schedule. And I'm going to call it out. Somebody out there in the general audience said, well, she beat Cookie Monster twice. Yeah, a Cookie Monster who was on the back end of her career and looked like absolute dog shit. Doesn't fucking mean a thing. So if you're going to come correct, understand you are entitled to your opinion. But opinions are kind of like assholes. Everyone has one, and they most of the time stink because you're not fucking wiping properly. When you come in here talking shit like that, I'm going to smear you. I don't care. I was fucking hot about that. I'm like, there's a reason why we said what we said. We backed it up with evidence. It's not like we were talking out of our ass.
Yep.
So yeah, a little fucking hot. Watching her get mollywopped for fucking 5 fucking rounds shows she is not that person. She is not the big bad wolf everybody thought she was.
No, not even fucking close.
Yeah, and when her biggest concern in that fight is how bad is the cut on my knee, that should tell you a lot about the fighter. A cut on your knee is the least of your fucking worries. To their credit, her corner's credit, they did tell her it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. It's not bad. It's
Right,
not
don't
bad.
worry about it. Yeah,
Albeit that fucking cut was fucking gnarly.
it was bad. Yeah,
But the corner did the right thing, but she focused way too much on that when she should have been focusing on how the fuck do I get control of this fight again? Because she had a partial moment in the first. I'll say a partial
right.
moment.
That's when she got her 1 of 14 takedowns. She
Yep.
absolutely had a moment in the first, and it was just
And
as fleeting as we thought it was
Wiley
going to
let
be.
her fucking wear herself out, and that was all she fucking wrote.
Yep.
Just saying, you get worked like a fucking dog there. And look, if you're gonna come in here touting somebody because they're undefeated, look, everybody is fucking great when they're undefeated. But everybody forgets there's always a bigger, badder motherfucker in the place somewhere.
It's always a bigger fish.
There's always. She jumped out of fucking Lake Michigan into the middle of the fucking ocean, and unfortunately, that fish drowned.
She got got.
She got because there was a much bigger fish, albeit in a smaller stature. But yeah, we're gonna come in here. It's okay to tell us we're wrong, but when it's an obvious fallacy, I'm gonna start calling people out. That's gonna be my new thing. I was gonna wait, but since Meter kicked this off, fuck it. I'm just gonna ride that pony home.
Yeah.
I'm correct. And look, if you're going to use some sort of logic with us, make it good sound logic. Not somebody who's in the tail end of their career and looks like shit. They beat a former 2-time champ. One, Cookie Monster was the first champ and immediately lost the belt after she got it.
Yep.
Yeah, she regained it on a bullshit ass fight.
Yeah.
And then what'd she do? Lose it right away. Bitch can't hold on to things. Got fucking butterfingers. I'm just saying. To her credit, yes, former champ will eventually be in the Hall of Fame, probably in that whole helped welcome the women's division to the fucking world of the UFC. And to her credit, she did. But not that same fighter when you're fighting somebody who's only been in the business for less than 10 fucking years in the UFC. I'm just saying. You know who you are if you're listening. I'm not calling you out by name, but you know who the fuck you are. Take it right on the chin, just like Tatiana did, and move the fuck on.
Yeah, I'd even second that to what you were saying there, brother. Because last week on my segment, we were talking about Tatiana as a contender, and that fight is one of the best fights of the night, which it turned out to probably be the best fucking fight of the night, at least, out of most of them. We also did mention that, like, it was no disliking shit. We just weren't the ones glazing Tatiana. We all kind of had that same thought last week that it's like, she can't get it to the ground. I don't feel like she's got a chance in hell because Weili's so strong in all other areas. And we all kind of felt that way, that Weili's gotten so much better with her wrestling over the past couple of years that it was going to be tough for Tatiana no matter what. And the biggest thing, she hasn't been active enough. Those injuries have really fucking set her back.
They held her back a lot. Yeah, they really did.
This is the thing, just like TJ said, whenever you talk about MMA, I never look at any comments or anything because of that exact thing. I'm never trying to let myself get unfazed or pissed off by idiots talking shit. I mean, we're just a bunch of fucking average Joes, like, the name of the pod. I'm no Joe. We just love the sport, but it's that aspect of, if you ever wanted to be taken seriously, you have to have that slight unbiased there. And so you have to, even if you like somebody, think somebody might be champion someday, you gotta always paint the two sides to the fucking picture. We normally do that pretty goddamn well. Even the ones that we really like ride for, we normally fucking are honest when we feel like they're not gonna get it done,
Yeah.
So.
Speaking of which, I'm also going to take one on the chin here just because, look, if I'm going to dish out punishment, I can dish it out to myself as well. There was one particular individual last week that I said has potential. looked like absolute dog shit and ended up in the goddamn ICU with a broken fucking trachea. Well, a broken portion of his trachea, the little coracoid bone that's
Corticoid
right
snapped,
here.
yeah.
Snapped it, and there were some breathing issues. So I'll take it on the chin. Yeah, not as good as I thought he had the capability of being. So definitely not the contender. But, you know, that'll happen. But for the most part, at least come correct with a logical fucking reasoning if you're going to come after us in the comments.
Right.
Well, we'll sit you back down when the time is ready to be sat down. And also, one of my other favorite points of that entire fight, takedowns were led by Wiley. She had more takedowns than Tatiana. The wrestler outdone by fucking somebody who primarily is a striker. Tells you something that's going on in the world there. Maybe we should pay more attention to what's actually going on.
Crazy
All right,
like that.
I'll get off the fucking high horse now. Let's move on with fucking life.
All right. So I ain't getting off the goddamn horse yet because I got one more fucking point to make here about last weekend, and I'll be damned if I'm going to move forward before I fucking make it here. In terms of glazing for the main event, I will say to their credit, the vast majority of people that I heard with any kind of opinion gave it a pretty decent, fair chance. The first one was controversial. They went to the decision. There was arguments to be made either way on who won that fight. Coming in here, that brought a bit of a storyline. They've both had some fights since then, so there was potential for both of them to have evolved since their last fight. So it could potentially have been a different fight. Then the fight happened. And not only did it look almost exactly like the first fight, it might have actually been a little bit worse because of how the third and fourth rounds ended up playing out this time around and the whole kablooey fucking situation. But the thing that bothers me about this is coming out of this, I've seen pretty much everyone unanimously agree, for the most part, this fight looked just like the first fight with minor alterations related to strikes and the headbutt from the first fight. But somehow, while agreeing the fight looked the fucking same, the vast majority of people I have heard talking this week have made some kind of claim or fucking attribute about how DDP has somehow evolved his game while doing the exact same fucking thing, talking about how now DDP has to be in the conversation of greatness in terms of the middleweight division. And I don't understand it. I will not fucking parrot that sentiment. I was amongst the masses saying, going into it, you can look back at the fucking show we did a week ago before the fight even happened. There was nothing leading into this to make me believe anything was going to be different from the first fight we saw. Surprise fucking surprise, the fight we saw Saturday night was almost fucking identical, barring a few little changes from the first fight that we saw. So how the fuck are you doing the exact same thing to the exact same person, but somehow evolving? Yes, all credit to DDP. He knew exactly how to shut Strickland down the whole goddamn fight. There was not a moment in that match where Strickland was leading the dance. I will absolutely give credit where credit is due. I make it a point to do that on this fucking show, whether I like somebody or not. I will absolutely give him his fucking flowers there. He held the fucking lead for the entirety of that fight. But at no point during that 25 fucking minutes did he exhibit one fucking iota of new technique or new advancement or better movement or anything fucking different than we have ever seen DDP do. Yes, he got the W and he retains that belt. He gets another ruby with Sean's fucking name on it, but he didn't do any fucking evolving. He's not some new version of DDP. He's not some contender for middleweight GOAT status. He's a dude that beat the same fucking guy the same fucking way twice in a row. No more, no less.
Yeah, I fully fucking agree with you, brother. It's even worse than that, though, right? Like, they both fucking did the to the death bullshit, right? Everybody's been giving Sean shit. But this fucker,
that came from both sides, too.
That's been talking all this shit since he won the belt, just like Tapuria, that he thinks he's already the hottest shit in the world. done anything differently, any one of his fights, any different than Sean Strickland has ever done throughout his whole fucking career. He literally took it off. Like, once he saw Sean was just going to do the same thing, he's like, fuck it. I don't even have to really work as hard.
Yep.
You're the champion, and then people paid money for those tickets. People pay money
To watch
at
it,
least
period,
some
yeah.
people pay money to watch the fucking shit, right? So, and then you go out there and just, I'm just gonna lacklusterly fucking work the guy down. You really only gave an exciting moment towards the end of the fight when you busted his fucking nose open.
Yep.
And then once you see it, that's the worst part of it. You're, again, the champion. You talk about to the death shit, all this bullshit. You're supposed to be fucking at least pushing some sort of excitement. You're the main event of the whole card. Everything's built around you, right? You bust his fucking nose open. Dude's just not even fighting. He's like backing away from you, like, oh fuck,
Literally.
my nose, trying to fix
Yep.
his nose. And you're not charging forward, trying to crack him again, trying to finish the fucking fight. You're not going to take him down, try to
Nothing.
get the submission like
Nothing.
what you just did to Izzy. No, they're just lackluster. We just keep pitter pattering and take this easy fucking win. It was like the Chiefs, right? And it was very uninspiring.
Absolutely.
It's no different than how Sean's coaches talked about Sean, or people have talked about Sean. That main event fucking sucked. That co-main event was so good between those two ladies. Even though Tatiana did kind of get her ass worked, she still kept going.
She stayed in it.
She showed the heart. She stayed the fuck in there, had the horrible gash on her knee.
Yep.
She didn't give up. She didn't fucking look for any ways out. She kept going. She made it to the end. It was a lot better fight, even from her side of things, getting her ass whooping, than either one of those two dudes fucking should. It was atrocious. And then, anybody trying to talk about this guy as being better or somehow getting better.
Look,
if he really gets Hamzat, and especially if we get that later this year, less than a minute. What he did to Robert Whitaker, it's not even going to take this motherfucker a minute. Hamzat's already the champion in my eyes. This motherfucker's just paper champion and has been the entire fucking time because of the constant back and forth bullshit we've had with Izzy and everything that's gone down. The past 2 years have just been shit. After the Pereira Izzy matchups we had, everything's just sucked at middleweight. I can't wait to see something fucking change up fresh. Some of these new fucking contenders rise up.
If he's so lackadaisical as he was about this fight going into what I think it's pretty much all but signed now is going to be him fighting Hamzat.
Yeah.
If he goes in that lackadaisical against Hamzat, he's not going to last long at all. Because Hamzat is not that dude to go start slow. He's fucking let's go right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of fighters in that division that are like that, which makes him a scary fucking individual.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've seen him get tested and he makes it through. So go ahead. You might be able to touch him, but good fucking luck stopping him. That dude's a force of nature. And that's a scary sumbitch.
Right. Absolutely. But those 2 points, I have seen both of them echoed through multiple different people on multiple different shows throughout the course of this week. And as you may have noticed, it fucking irked me. And as you can or might not be able to tell by now, I don't let things irk me very long before they get dealt with. So that being said, now we'll start the actual show the way that we normally like to start the show, with a little bit of news and recent events, fight announcements, fight confirmations, things you may or may not have seen or heard around the combat sports world that we feel are relevant for you fine folks to know about. First, in the actual news segment, does actually tie back to last weekend, but for a good reason, for a change. The UFC apparently has done this a couple times before, but managed to somehow pull one over on Izzy last weekend. Dana White told him that he wanted him at the fights to come sit with Dana, but didn't tell him why, because once they got him there during the broadcast last weekend, they announced going into the fight wing of the UFC Hall of Fame coming up this summer will be the first inductee for 2025, Israel Adesanya versus Kelvin Gastelum. If you somehow have made it this far into your life without watching that fight, as soon as this podcast is done, I encourage you to go to whatever platform you choose to use and go watch that fight. I promise you, you won't need a cup of coffee to stay up all night. That was one of the best fights the UFC has put on in the last decade, hands down, not even a fucking question. It absolutely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and I was very stoked to see that they got it, and it's going to be the first one from this year. So tip of the cap to both of those gentlemen, because as Izzy said, as he FaceTimed Kelvin from the stadium, it takes two to tango. So this is a shared award for a reason. So cap tip to both of those gentlemen. That being said, moving forward here into the current era of news, as it were, as of this Monday, Aaron Pico is officially a legal free agent. While PFL does still retain matching rights, their sole exclusive window has officially closed. He is now able to accept offers from other companies, and we heard directly from the horse's mouth a couple of weeks ago, the UFC and the brass are very interested in Aaron Pico. Some of the matchups that they could make with Aaron Pico coming over could be fucking phenomenal. This might be one of the few times I agree with Dana White and the brass that it would be worth going for whatever they're going to have to pay to get this kid, because he could have, I say could have, potentially kept some legitimacy to the PFL, but it has been very clear both through, I will say, lack of commentary and lack of action or inaction on his part in terms of expressing any interest in staying there. It looks like Aaron Pico is probably going to be heading to the UFC sooner rather than later. So it is now officially legal and open. And with you seeing Dana at that press conference drooling when that name got brought up, I think we're going to see him in the UFC here pretty damn soon. That being said, we got a couple of injury reports this week here. The first one pertains to this weekend, not necessarily an injury, but it was included in that massive report. I believe his name is pronounced Quave Fernandez, is officially out of the fight this Saturday. He could not get his visa cleared in time. Stepping in to replace him will be Mashrabajan Ruzabayev, I believe I pronounced that correct, to take on Jared Gordon. So they are keeping Jared Gordon on the card. Always interesting to see when short notice fights get taken like this. Both fighters have to agree to a short notice fight. Going to be interesting to see how that plays out this Saturday. Now, the other big chunk that was directly related to injuries, unfortunately, mainly pertained to UFC Seattle, as if that card hadn't already suffered enough with Dominic Cruz getting injured, pulled off, and then retiring. It seems that the bug is going around, because this week we got word that Macy Chazon and Edson Barboza are both injured and both out of their fights for UFC Seattle. They did announce a pair of replacement matches to counter those two, at least, though. The first one that they announced is Nursultan Ruzaboyev versus a newcomer, guy making his debut, Eric McConaughey. That'll be an interesting one to see play out. And then the one that I was super fucking happy to see confirmed, because I saw it published a couple of days ago unofficially from the direct source, but the UFC did confirm it this afternoon. Also added to the UFC Seattle card will be Alonzo Menafield, welcoming newcomer and Springfield, Missouri Synergy FC resident champion Julius Juicebox Walker, making his UFC debut in Seattle. So local fucking talent getting called up to the big show, making his debut on the fucking Seattle card, and I am stoked to see it. Juicebox has been doing work in Synergy. If you want to go look at his Tapology, that man can do some fucking damage. So to see him getting his debut against somebody like Menafield in Seattle, which is going to be a big card.
Yeah, I'm excited as shit for it, man. Always root for the Missouri guys, but especially him. Finished all fucking 6 wins, undefeated.
Yes,
The kid's got some fucking serious potential. Light heavyweight and heavyweight are weak as fuck. And we need some excitement. I'd love for some Missouri boys to be that excitement to fucking come on in. This dude seriously got some potential. Menafield's really fucking not that good either.
No.
He's shown that he does not have the greatest gas tank. He's not the most talented dude. He's not got the worst chin in the world. So maybe he could, tough the fight out. But I'm excited to see what this kid Juice Box does, man. I want to see what the Juice Box does.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I'm fucking stoked. I saw him share it, and then Synergy shared when he initially got signed by the UFC. Then he shared that he was fighting on the Seattle card, but he couldn't officially say it, but it had already been fucking shared. And I was like, oh shit, is this real? And then today, yeah, UFC officially confirmed that it is legitimate. He will be in fucking Seattle taking on Menafield. I'm fucking stoked for it, man. I think it's going to be a damn good fight. If he comes out, minds his P's and Q's, and plays smart like he has been, he could fuck Menafield up and make a hell of a debut for himself. The other announcement pertaining to UFC Seattle, because of all these fights being switched around, they did pull the Curtis Blades versus Rizvan Kanoyev fight from Seattle, and it is getting moved to UFC 313 March 8th because of all the fights getting shifted around here. So Seattle has almost completely been rebooked and shuffled around into a whole new card in the course of the last week and a half or so. That being said, couple weeks out from there, March 29th has officially been confirmed as UFC Mexico City, with the main event to be Brandon Moreno versus Steve Erceg, and that is going to be a fucking spectacular matchup. And Mexico City always puts on a hell of a fucking show, so hopefully they stack that card appropriately, but I think it's going to be a fucking good one to watch here.
It's going to be a good fight, and it's going to tell you exactly where fucking Moreno is at in his career, fighting Steve Erceg, who, look, Steve Erceg went from relative unknown to fucking just
that dude,
that fucking guy, where he's going to test everybody they put in front of him. I mean, there's a reason why he got a fucking title shot so early in his career on Last Minute and put up one hell of a fucking fight in the situation. I mean, there's a good portion of that fight where I thought he could have won it, but
yeah, it's going to be real interesting for sure.
It's going to be an exciting Mexico City main event. I like it, man. The Mexican crowd is going to go fucking nuts having Moreno there. So
absolutely, yeah, he's going to get the crowd into it for sure. So over on the other side of the house here, the PFL has announced that their new $500,000 actual tournament, no longer season format, actual tournament, is going to officially be starting April 3rd down in Orlando, with the welterweights and featherweights kicking it off. The featherweights will be Jesus Pineda, Gabriel Braga, Adam Boric, Mavlid Kibloyev, Jeremy Kennedy, Eve Landau, Nathan Kelly, and Tai Kyum Kim. Not a bad name if you've been following the PFL. Not a bad list of names, I should say. In terms of the welterweights, the folks fighting for the welterweights will be Jason Jackson, Andrei Koreshkov, Logan Storley, Magomed Umaladov, Florim Zandelli, Giannis Bacher, Muhammad Berkamov, and then Musiaki Kikiriu. Not as big of names in the welterweights as there are in the featherweights, but there are some decent names in that list nonetheless. Back over on the UFC side of the house here, April 5th, location still to be determined, but we've got the main event for the card, stepping back in from an 18-month layoff. Josh Emmett getting back into action, taking on Lerone Murphy for the main event of that fight night. Damn good matchup, in my opinion, here. The following week, UFC 314 down in Miami, April 12th, got a damn good fight added to it this week. Julian Juicy J. Erosa taking on Darren Damage Elkins. Somebody is getting fucked up in that fight. I can guarantee you right now, blood will be shed in that match. I don't fucking care which way it goes. I'm telling you, somebody in that match is going to bleed. The UFC confirmed this weekend, UFC 315 will be taking place May 10th, returning for the first time in a decade to Montreal. Very interesting. Last time they were there, Demetrius Johnson headlined against Kyoji Horiguchi. The 317 confirmed just this afternoon will be capping off International Fight Week this year at June 28th from the T-Mobile Center, or the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. The Hall of Fame ceremony this year will be June 26th, followed by the 2-day Fan Expo being brought back again this year to Las Vegas. So the whole kit and caboodle of the International Fight Week circus will be back this year, last week of June, because they did not want to overlap the 4th of July this year. So it is set, the whole rigmarole. They've got a whole fucking list of everything on the UFC website if you're interested in all the shenanigans they're going to be up to. Last one I have got here. I make no bones about it. I'm very open and very upfront about the fact that I'm a petty asshole more often than I am not. I don't like people. I will tell you I don't like them. I don't like Bill Algeo. I have never given two flying fucks about him. And when I saw him in Kansas City, he pissed me off even fucking more. Still couldn't give two shits about him. That being said, Bill Algeo has reached the point where he has decided he is going to retire from MMA to fully commit to coaching instead of competing. And while I might not like him and I still think he can go fuck himself, I always try to make a point to tip my cap to gentlemen or ladies who decide under their own free will when they are going to end their career and do so at a point where they are still able to tie their shoes and sign their name legibly. And while I might not be a fan of his personally, I want to make a moment here to thank Bill Algeo for his time in the combat sport that we so love. And now go fuck yourself, buddy. That being said, that's what I've got for news and recent events this week. Either one of you gentlemen have anything I might have missed?
Nope. I've been stewing all week on comments that were in here last week, so I didn't even look at the fucking news.
I get it. All right. So that being said, this will bring us to the point where in most podcasts, you're going to get some bullshit B-roll for some product that doesn't have anything to do with the show, or somebody knows somebody who knew somebody who decided they wanted to promote some bullshit. We don't play like that here on the ImNoJo podcast. The ImNoJo podcast is sponsored by viewers like you. Patreon.com/ImNoJo. For as little as $1 a month, not only do you help us do what we do around here, in exchange for that single dinero, as little as you would like to give, we give you, first and foremost, a thank you at the end of every broadcast on the channel to let everyone know how fucking awesome you are in helping us do what we do. But as well as that, for every level of donation to the Patreon, you get unrestricted access to all of the behind the scenes, unaired, and sometimes unairable content that may or may not have gotten us kicked off of OnlyFans, but things that only folks that help us do what we do around here get to enjoy. So if that's something you might be interested in, as low as $1 a month, as high as whatever you feel comfortable giving, patreon.com/ImNoJo helps us do what we do, and we appreciate you. If not, that's all right, because we do this show pretty much every Thursday just for free over on YouTube as well. You ain't got to pay if you don't want to. If you do, be cool. If not, we get it. That being said, if you've been watching combat sports as long as some of us have been watching combat sports, inevitably you start to develop habits and you learn what you like to watch and where it comes on and when it watch it, and you start to lose the forest for the trees, as it were. Luckily for us here on the show, we've got ourselves a bona fide young person out there ever so diligently just fingering the MMA world here's pulse, help keeping us abreast of all the names that are going to be names before they are names in a little segment that we call Slows, Cans, and Contenders.
Appreciate you, brother. So like always, you start trash, man. You gotta take the trash out before you can talk about the good shit. The majority of the card you can throw in the fucking trash. You know, TJ mentioned it earlier at the beginning. It was a hangover card. It's not the worst one. You know, definitely got a couple fights on here that I'm interested in seeing. But it's definitely quite a bit. You could just say, fuck this shit. Some of that shit, in my eyes, that Walter Walker and Dantale Mays fight, this is going to be a classic walrus slap fight. Johnny Walker is not the greatest fighter in the world, but I think his brother has already clearly proven to us that he's the lesser of the Walker brothers. His debut and continuation in the UFC so far has not been entertaining whatsoever. Not looking forward to that one. Then you've also got Rodolfo Vieira, Andre Petrovsky fight. This is another one that I could feel like could be an absolute snoozer. I mean, you could put this as a contender, right? Yeah, could see Vieira coming out here and just submitting him, potentially looking decent. But the way Petrovsky, especially, has tried to fight his last couple fights just to pick up the easy wins against extremely low level guys like Dylan Budka, I am not looking forward to that one at all. Rodolfo Vieira is the only upside, in my opinion, with that fight, but I'm just going to throw the fight in the trash. I mentioned him just a minute ago. Dylan Budka, throw that motherfucker in the trash. I don't know why he's still in the UFC, but here we go. He's going to get his ass whooped again this weekend. You got Connor Matthews. I kind of understand that he's shown some toughness and shit. Dana gave the kid a chance, but winning the decision on the Contender Series in his second go of it, like after losing the first time to Francis Marshall. Like I said, again, kid showed toughness, took Francis Marshall to a decision. They gave him a second chance. He won, but the kid's just not been that exciting. I'm not looking forward to seeing what Connor Matthews does this weekend. You got two ladies, and I'm going to throw in there. Julia Vila. She's a bit on the older side, and I don't think she's ever been the greatest. And then I'd say the same thing about our girl, Angela Hill. One of the world's most annoying voices in the world that makes me want to claw my ears off, if you would, every time she speaks. But she's been the definition of back and forth. 40 years old, she's still fighting. Good on her for wanting to still do it, still compete, and definitely still take that money that the UFC is offering her. But I don't really understand why the UFC is doing. Oh yeah, I do understand because the UFC, for whatever reason, doesn't want to actually pick up young ladies from the regional scene and actually add talent to the roster. Well, what do you know, Blasman? Just like we only fucking it's been reported this past week, only 30 heavyweights on the roster. What the fuck's going on here? I don't know. A lot of questions to be had there. The last one that I'm going to throw in the trash. Some could say you guys might give him a pass here, put him on the contender side of things, right? That he might have a chance to bounce back. Jared Cannonier, dude's at the end of his. If Izzy's at the end of his career, which I honestly think he is, Izzy's been fun as hell, and Izzy's a legend. He could maybe still have some fun fights if he wants to keep going, but he's never getting back to the title at this point, right? Jared Cannonier was damn sure that way already. At this point, he's unbelievably that way. He's at the end of his career. He's the gatekeeper. He even actually admitted it yesterday during media day and shit. I saw that. So I got Cannonier in the trash. I feel like he's going to look like absolute shit, or vice versa. If RoboCop just like can't stand up to the moment, like if it's too big for him, even though it's at the apex, right? Like if the lights are too big, if the moment's too big, getting the main event, fighting a guy like Jared Cannonier, we're gonna get a boring ass fucking main event. Like if RoboCop isn't the one pushing the pace, in my opinion, like looking the way he's looked before, that's the only way I look at it. He would get like nervous and be the moment's too big, right? Otherwise, I think RoboCop's going to open up a can of whoop ass or potentially get the knockout here. Fucking Cannonier's lost his last couple of fights to guys like Imavov and Barajo. I really think RoboCop's got a lot more power at least. Maybe he's not all around well rounded, same kind of mixed martial artist as ImNoBookie is or whatever. Maybe we don't see RoboCop get up in the top 5 or get a title shot, but the dude's fun as hell. I'd rather see him get a title shot from these other motherfucking young kids who've been climbing up. The dude's fun as fuck. The personality, everything about him. On top of the fact he looks like Obama and you can meme the fuck out of that. I loved seeing that. And the fucking Money Moicano posting that shit this week. So that's what I got. You're throwing Cannon in the trash there too. My contenders, the 2 guys that I have on the fence. One of them's really obvious. The other one, some people might question because he's at the back end of the career. He's not ever going to have a chance at a title, but he's still such a fun fighter. Flash Gordon. Fucking Jared Gordon to me is a contender just because of the fact he's always been a little back and forth, but he's also always been just outside of the top 15 in a sense, especially the past fucking few years. That robbery that he had to Paddy Pimblett in the sense of like what he could have had in big fights, fun fights, set him back a little bit because he took the loss. I feel like Jared Gordon's still that guy. He could have some really fun fights in his career, especially if he keeps pulling some wins out. It's the same like Jim Miller. Could have a really fun finish and ride out on the career. So, but Edmund Shabazian is like the true contender. The dude's whole career. He's still so fucking young, right? He's 27 years old. Kid's still 2 years younger than I am. It's fucked the fuck up. Like he's still got potential just based on that. But then not even that. Every one of his wins, he's finished. Like that, he's like Terrence McKinney. Like every good fight he's been in, he's fucking lost. And the majority of the fights that Shabazian's in that he loses, he gets finished or knocked the fuck out. Right? But then every fight that he wins, he's finishing dudes. So he's got that potential to still bounce back. Do I think he does it anytime soon? No, he needs a few wins just to fucking like really get back into true contention. But that's where I still got him on the fence. Because if he can string together some fucking wins, dude's gonna get back there because of the hype he had when he first came in. He's still so fucking young. Like it would be pretty easy, in my opinion, for him to bounce back. But it could also be really easy at this point with how things have got for him. If he loses another 1 or 2, maybe he just gets shipped out. And it'd be sad to see because, again, he's really young and he has finished every fight that he's won. It's like he's that get or get got guy. So you can't. There hasn't been a lot of fights Shabazian's been in where it's been boring. It's the thing is you always give credit to those dudes. But my actual contenders, now I know fucking TJ's gonna question this. He maybe will like one brother. This is always the thing. We always say one brother in a situation is better than the other. But both of them have shown some potential, right? The Bonfim brothers are back. It's more of a gimmick, man. This is a fun gimmick this weekend. They put them both on the card again. They gave them easy fights, in my opinion. They're probably both gonna have some decent moments. They're gonna look good. Do I think that either one of them are gonna be champions in the future? No, not gonna say that. I'm not sitting here, but they have shown exciting moments. Fucking Ismail fucking knocking out Terrence McKinney, like I said, T-Rex, one of those get or get got guys. Gabriel has had some okay moments. If anything, I'd say I like Ismail's potential more just because of the knockout power. I like seeing the exciting shit, but I'm sure TJ is going to say fuck him. He's probably throwing them both in the trash. I am really just looking forward to potentially getting some finishes. right? Like maybe that's the decent moments on this card. Elijah Smith, though, that's a contender I'm actually truly looking forward to. 22-year-old kid that I feel like definitely has some knockout power and some finishing ability, making his UFC debut. I think he's going to look pretty good. And this is a kid I would put my stock into. Keep your eye out for. He might have a bright future. As well with that, Jose Delgado. I think he is another kid that potentially has that bright future. Mentioned Connor Matthews and throw him in the trash. I feel like this is nice, easy setup for Delgado. He looked pretty good on the Contender Series, getting himself a nice little knockout. So he's got a potential future here in the UFC as well. You see how he does in his debut. Two fights that I feel like are like contender fights, probably the ones I'm the most excited for, is Rafael Estevam versus Jesus Aguilar. Those two flyweights going at it. I'm really excited to see. Now, Estevam hasn't fought in a fucking minute. I think it was some injuries or whatever that kept him out last year. So it's exciting to see him come back. He's only had the one fight so far in the UFC, so we'll see how he does. Aguilar's definitely looked fucking good. Had a few fights now that he's won in a row. We'll see how those flyweights do. I'm excited for Yusuf Zalal, man. He's the big contender, taking on the gatekeeper and Calvin Cater, and that's one of those fights I'm really excited. Probably one of the only ones that we get. It might actually be a back and forth, fun, exciting fight, or Calvin's still got something in him, and I don't think Calvin wins this one. Maybe he does still hold that gatekeeper role and at least test Zalal, see how good the kid really is, if he's ready to take on some top competition now that he's back in the UFC and been making this little run. You obviously got RoboCop. He beat Jared Cannonier. He's in the top 10 of the fucking middleweight division. He's going to get a fun ass fight in the next one. Who knows who, because it's kind of fucked up with the top 10 right now. And like I said, it's been hard for some of those contenders to really get fight. It's like lightweight. It's been getting muddied up because of some of those older guys, mainly the situation we've had with Izzy and Strickland and all that shit. Just the rematches and stuff. It always fucks divisions up, kind of muddies things up, but it'll be a cool thing to see RoboCop get his fucking chance. Got to throw him out there. And then Ketlin Souza, I also wanted to throw her out there. I feel like she's still got a chance to be a true contender. I mean, Angela Hill, she's always been back and forth, but she's a big veteran, not fully a huge name to build off of. But this girl just mainly having the finishes that she's had in her career, all the knockout ability, beating Yasmin Jaregui in her last fight. She's shown some potential. She lost to Karine Silva since she's gotten in the UFC. So, I mean, one chick that's already worked her way up into the contention of that division he lost to, but another young contender she just beat in her last fight. So still feel like she's a potential contender. Like to hear what you boys got to say. And no, TJ's going to throw the brothers in the shitter and majority of it in the shitter, but maybe he agrees with a couple of the young kids that I say keep an eye out for. You always have that situation. Can't agree on everything, but you give our honest take.
All right. Here's my honest take. I think you pulled the Kansas City Chiefs is what you did. You're doing such a fucking great job going down this card. Then you get to the big fucking moment and you throw it all away on a pair of fucking brothers. What the fuck, man? You were doing so good. I was like, I'm not going to have shit to say. We're on top of things. Was quite thrilled with your answer.
Well, the reason
I say
we're
just going to walk away from this
still not sure which one's better.
I can tell you. Let me give you the answer to that.
Yeah, neither.
Like
I said, you're throwing both of them in the shitter.
Jesus Christ, man. You were so close to being fucking just spot on this week. I agree. There's some things where I'm kind of on the fence on agreeing, but you were very right up until that fucking point. I had to fucking face palm. I don't face palm very often, but you made me face palm. Man. But in all honesty, no, you were pretty spot on for most everything. I will say the fight as a whole that's a contender fight for me is still Calvin Kattar and the Yusuf Zalal. Because I still think Calvin's got something left to fucking prove. And Yusuf Zalal's been a fucking animal, finishing people, and he's just on a fucking tear. Like, he deserves this fucking fight more than most in the featherweight division right now. And that fucking I can't. Oh, wait a minute. There was one other one. This is you definitely pulled the Chiefs, doing great until you mentioned this other one too. Rodolfo Vieira and Andre Prochowski. That is
I
not
threw that in the trash.
No, I heard you say contender fight.
No, I threw that in the can. The whole fight was
I
a
heard
can. That is
contender.
one of the
My
cans
apologies.
I started with.
Okay. I misheard. I got a little fired up here.
I only
Of
said
all
that
of
Vieira could potentially make that fight better if he gets a finish, but I still think, even as a whole, it all goes in the shitter.
Maybe that's where I got a little fucking sidetracked there, because started talking good about somebody in that fight. No, fuck them both. They can
No, I
both
think
get
that
by
fight's going to
boss.
be one of those middleweighty fucking slap fights, like what we get as a walrus slap fight.
Yeah, it's gonna be fucking terrible. Both of the women's fights as a whole can go in the fucking trash. I don't care about either one of them. And speaking of retirements that we were talking about earlier, why is Angela Hill not fucking retired yet? Do you want to know the answer to that question? Because she is a company man. She will do whatever the UFC needs her to do because they keep dump trucking money to that bitch. And you made a great point. They're not bringing enough women in off the regional scenes that can make a difference in these divisions. It's like they're trying to get these divisions to die off, which is terrible, because then you end up with things like the light heavyweight division where it's stagnant. You end up with things like the fucking heavyweight division where it's fucking stagnant because there's a cocksucker at the top who won't sign the fucking paperwork and it's being a little bitch. That's right, I said it. Stop being a little bitch. But no, I think right now Jared Cannonier is what I will call a contender. Not because he has the potential to become champion, but this is because he is still that fucking gatekeeper. And whether or not he stays there as the gatekeeper or falls down to being the gatekeeper of the people just coming into the UFC. Because I don't think they're going to release him with a loss to Gregory Rodriguez. RoboCop's a fucking animal. Period. I mean, that dude has fists of fury. He's a scary man, not to mention. I mean, anybody who saw the placeholder for tonight's video will see that giant ass cut that went from here to here and was peeling his nose off of his face. He still came back and won that fight. The dude is a fucking animal. He is the biggest contender on this entire fucking card, in my opinion. By far. I know he's had a couple of stumbles in there, but for the most part, he's been fucking amazing. He's a scary individual. With one loss since 2023, and he's had four fucking fights since the beginning of 2023. That's doing pretty good considering he's on a 3-fight win streak again. I mean, look what he did to. He knocks everybody out. For some odd reason, he managed to fucking go to decision in his last fight with fucking, was it Christopher Leroy Duncan, I think. And that was just a miracle that Duncan survived that long, in my opinion. But yeah, as a whole, The People's Co-Main Event, fucking trash. I have no faith in Edmund Shabazian at all. Ronda Rousey's protege, fucking trash. Dylan Budka, fucking trash. Get them out of the dent bin and go give them to a homeless shelter somewhere. Because those kinds of cans are not the ones we want in the UFC. I want decent cans, not that. To be honest, though, to be fair, albeit a hangover card, some of the fights do have some merit where there could be something interesting that goes on just because a lot of newer guys and guys coming back off of injury to see where they stand. But overall, it's fucking not a great card. There's recognizable names on there, but not recognizable because of the reason you want to be recognized. Most of them recognizable because they've got their shit kicked in spectacular fashion at one point and are on somebody's highlight reel. Instead, we're stuck with somebody going, which Bonfim brother is the best?
Yeah.
You were so
See,
close to
this
a
is what
perfect.
happened. It's not my fault. You see, you even admitted it. It's UFC. They're doing it to me. They're making me lose my mind. I can't deal with it anymore.
Obviously, because I remember there was a point where somebody was on the Sugar Show train, and it's definitely the UFC. I'm just saying, you might want to be watching what you smoke before you start making your notes. I think you're getting a little silly there.
Or it's
Now-
I'm not smoking enough while I'm doing my notes.
That very well could be. It could be fucking with your judgment.
Now, to be fair, I cannot in any way, shape, or form endorse or justify Christian's fondness, I guess would be the best word, for the Bonfim brothers, but I can understand the UFC's here because, like we say, this is a hangover card, and they have very much been making it this week about the Bonfim brothers. And that, for all intents and purposes, is very much a wake up hungover and squint real hard. That might be a good pair of brothers, right? What? I like for that sense, I get it. I totally get it. For the rest of us who might be squinting but are still looking clear-eyed at the card this weekend, load size, oof, extra big. This is an Apex card, so we can't even really say that this is one of those situations where they brought in a bunch of local talent for a fight night. This is literally one of those cards that we essentially refer to as a contractual obligation card. These are fights that had to go somewhere. None of them were important enough to go anywhere big, so they stacked them all here. That being said, there is going to be some interesting fights on this card. The vast majority of them are not going to be great. I just am not confident at all that the vast majority of this card is going to be worth watching. I'm seeing Decision City ahead of us here, population Apex. That being said, I am still morbidly curious to find out exactly what the fuck Edmund Shabazian still has left. He might not come from great stock, but we have seen people come from shitty gyms and get it together eventually. There is a genuine chance that Edmund might still do that. There is also an equal chance that a full-on crunchy can like Dylan Budka comes in and highlight reels his fucking ass, and then we know that they can throw both of those motherfuckers to PFL and lose nothing. But there's always still that equal chance that Shabazian could pull his head completely out of his ass, realize what he's actually trying to do, and show some of that fucking potential he once allegedly had. I don't know that he's going to, but I will give him 10 of the 15 minutes of his fight to get it there before I start rooting against him. That being said, you guys covered the vast majority of this very well. I will say, Calvin Kattar is a weird situation for me because on one hand, we have seen Calvin Kattar legitimately tested against the best of the best at featherweight, and he has come up short pretty much every fucking time. But on the other side of that exact same coin, the only people that Calvin Kattar has come up short against have been the best of the best at 45 pounds. I don't know that Yusuf Zalal is a world breaker. I don't know that he's on his way to a title run. What I do know is that he seems to have his shit pretty well together lately. He's looking very well rounded and he's looking energetic as fuck. He's not a dude that is ever known to be short on gas tank. And then we've got him here in a 3-round fight. He's going to have time to show off everything he is capable of. And Calvin Kattar is not a dude to easily be got. So Calvin's going to be in there giving it fucking back to him for everything he is worth. The New England Cartel does not fuck around. And he is a great example of that. It's going to be probably the toughest fight of Yusuf Zalal's career. And I'm very interested to see how that one shakes loose. The main event, I'm not quite as excited about, though. I understand why Jared Cannonier is still around. I don't agree with it, but I understand it because he is still a body at 85 that people will recognize the name of, and a big win against him still does mean something. It won't carry you directly to a title shot, but it still genuinely means something. With RoboCop, he's been kind of hit and miss. He hasn't really had the greatest of continuous hype trains rolling. Like TJ mentioned, the thumbnail shows you he can fight through fucking pain. He can fight through fucking injury. He can persevere. The question is, can he put enough of that together to definitively shut Jared Cannonier up? Because Jared Cannonier will stay in there. We've seen him go 5 before. But can he go 5 with RoboCop is the question. I'm here to find out. I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's one thing with you just talking about the Kattar and Zalal fight. I honestly feel like that one could be the main event. Kattar and Cannonier, in my opinion, respectively, are both in the same position in their divisions. So I honestly think that's going to be the more fun fight. But I'm excited as hell to, like you just said, see how RoboCop handles Cannonier, how that fight turns out. I just hope it doesn't turn out to be the boring ass decision that Cannonier likes to give us.
All right, I got a hot take for you guys. Since we're kind of talking about cans and all of this a lot on these hangover cards, here's a hot take. Let the UFC do something similar to the NFL, where we get multiple fights, but there are blackout fights that we don't have to fucking watch because we're not in the right market, aka we don't live in fucking Las Vegas.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Make Facebook prelims great again. The UFC used to only, I'm saying directly into anyone who is listening and not watching, they used to only broadcast the prelims for UFC fights, pay-per-view or otherwise, on Facebook. So if you only watched a main card, you didn't see any prelims. And I would absolutely take that back, even if it means that pay-per-views are only main cards and you have to go to Facebook for everything else. I'm still fine with that because that worked.
Or fucking put them on YouTube. Something where it's a different fucking platform. Because, look, I'm not gonna lie, with as much garbage as on so many of these cards because they're doing the contractual obligation fights, do us a favor, make a whole different fight card for a hangover that's decent, maybe 1 or 2 pieces of trash, but not the vast majority of it being trash, and then make a whole separate card for another hangover card on the same day. Run them in 2 different areas. Run one in fucking Vegas, maybe run one out in fucking Florida, Texas, wherever you can get a spot. Go to a smaller town that you normally wouldn't go to. Put on some fucking just shit fighters. I say shit loosely. They're all decent because they've all made it to the UFC. But they're shit in comparison to the tops of the heaps. So put them in smaller towns that you normally wouldn't go to, that you're not expecting to sell a huge crowd. But because it's UFC, people will still come and fill up that smaller venue. It's not hard. It's not like you're paying those cans fucking any more than maybe, what, 15 and 15 if they're lucky. So you'll get your money back just based off of sales, ticket sales, and then merch sales, because you know you're going to sell merchandise at those fucking fights. You might not sell the fucking main event fucking t-shirts like you would at fucking certain places, but you know, it's just a thought. I feel like it needs to be done because for a lot of us that will watch these in and out, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of times you'll catch a brand new fighter on there where you go, all right, that's a dude I need to keep an eye on. But at the same time, 90% of the time, that is not the fucking case. You're just going, why'd they bring this guy here? What is he going to contribute to this division other than wasting a fucking valuable time slot when we could have had a better fight?
I definitely agree. Fucking shit's definitely not looking like it's going to get any better anytime soon either. It's going to be the same situation next week for us, but I appreciate you boys always trying to help bring some light moments towards the shit. And that's all I got.
Much appreciated, sir. Thank you very much. So that'll bring us to the only segment in the show that does require its own individual disclaimer, if you will. me. Tapology.com does not in any way, shape, or form support, sponsor, or endorse the I'm No Joe podcast. Yet. That being said, Tapology does offer you the option to go onto their site, create a free account, and make fantasy MMA picks. They even let you make groups on there. So we made one. It's called ImNoBookie, all one word, or Group 965, however you need to find it. The group is open to the public. You are welcome and encouraged. Go on the site, make yourself an account, join the group, and then let us know who you are so we can hold your picks accountable with our picks in a little segment that we call Tapology with TJ.
Oh boy. All right. Now, for those of you who are not aware, which should be some of you, not all of you, but most of you that are watching realize that this show is free, right? You're not paying to watch it. You're not paying to listen to it on fucking wherever your podcast consumption platform of choice is. I mean, unless you're one of those crazy fuckers who actually pays a subscription fee so you get ad free. But, you know, we're not those people. I'm not that person. Tapology is fucking free. You don't have to pay to join. By the way, that's not a fucking secret. I've been blasting this in and out every fucking week, and I'm going to continue to do so. Tapology is free. Come make yourself an account before they get picked up by some big name fucking brand deal and you have to pay to have an account. Because you might get grandfathered in for having one already. So, come over there, join our group. ImNoBookie Group 965, however you want to look for it. Now, let's get into some fucking picks. We're going to skip back to last week's fucking event, which would have been the UFC 312. Duplessis Strickland 2, the rematch that absolutely nobody gave two shits about. I'll say it. Nobody else will. Now, I want to let everybody know this was the absolute worst pick job that we have done in quite some fucking time. For the most part, almost everybody in the group hit that 50% mark, but just fucking barely. Out of the 12 fights on there, our group averaged about 6 correct. There were a couple with 7, but for the most part, it was 6ers across the board. So we're going to start with that top spot there. So the top spot this last week goes to Christian himself with a whopping 7 of 12 correct. Well done, sir. 525 points. You got it. Next closest was myself with 6 correct at 440, which I want to point out this because, you know, if you make a little more jumps on maybe some perfect picks, you might actually overtake me, Lucas. But, you know, you shit the bed with 7 correct of 12, but I still beat you in the fucking points wise. Just wanted to point that out. It was only 10-point difference, but that perfect pick made all the difference in the fucking world. Now, that's gonna leave the worst of the worst this week. Donna absolutely shit the fucking bed. She didn't quite shit it bad enough for me, though. She got 4 of 12 correct. She was 33%. Absolutely terrible. Like, somebody's panties were too tight. The fucking lips were hanging out. Tripped over them. Then they got stepped on by the dog and used it as a chew toy. It's a fucking bad look. Didn't work out well for her last week. Now, with all of that being said, we're going to move into the Grand Prix results from the last, I forget how many fucking weeks it was. It was, what, I'll say it was 11 events in total, I think. 11 or 12, somewhere in there. Donna, albeit she shit the bed, takes the top spot over the course of those fucking that many fights. Her total picks correct 95 out of 139. That's good points. 500 or 5,880. Myself bringing in the second spot, 91 of 139. Not terrible, not great. 5,720 points. Christian had himself a hell of a week this week, but it wasn't enough to catch me. Said 84 of 139, 5,550 points. The meter comes in sitting in the 4th spot, 5,065 points, 79 of 138. And what's crazy here is this next stat for Vinny coming in the 5 spot, 4,770 points, 78 of 139. Only one pick difference. Those points matter when it comes to picking the correct finishes, what rounds they are, how the finish is going to happen. Are you calling for a decision, and it is a decision? Those extra little points matter in the long run, because when there's one pick difference between them, but the point total difference is fucking like 300, it makes a big difference over the course of quite a few weeks there. And Don tripping over his shit brings up the bottom spot, doesn't even hit the 50% mark. He could have hit the 50% mark but failed to put in his fucking picks last week on this account. And I say on this account because he had them in on his other account, but not this one. So, if you are a multi-account player, make sure you're putting your picks in at the same fucking time. And come over and join us so that way you can get in on our next Grand Prix, which should be set up here in the next couple of weeks. And as long as you're in here, we'll get invites out to you. You come join them. You don't have to do anything for the Grand Prix except accept the invite and then make your UFC picks, because those are the only ones we're counting towards the fucking Grand Prix. Yes, there are other picks available for you to make on Tapology. You don't have to do that. I don't. I could go in there and do PFL, all that shit, but I don't. You can even do boxing, because there's some boxing picks on there sometimes. There's some Muay Thai on there. It's just what you feel like doing. But for us, strictly, we're only tracking the UFC fights. I don't have time, nor do I care enough to track the rest of it. No, if I haven't beat this on the head enough, come join Tapology. It's fucking free, you cheap bastards. Group 965, ImNoBookie. And remember, if I recognize your name and I see you in the group, I will call you out, even if you didn't want to be part of it. So if you're trying to slide in there, I'll slide like you might want to change your screen name. I'm just saying. With that being said, that is the end of the Grand Prix. So this week we'll be talking about just no Grand Prix this coming week, which is great that I don't have to worry about talking about that. Shortens up the segment a little bit, at least for a little while. So we're going to move on to odds, which to nobody's surprise at all, for the most part, there's quite a few just pick'ems. And by pick'ems, I mean pretty close to coin flips. But there are some that are fairly wide odds. So I'm going to cover those down here. BetMGM does not seem to have their shit together this week because they did not have their fucking picks lined up. Probably because they realized this is a garbage card and it's not worth the time to put out odds for. So we're going to go back to Caesars like we did last week, which is crazy. Makes me wonder what the fuck is going on with BetMGM because they did miss a very large fucking pay-per-view last week. Start with a couple fairly wide odds. Connor Matthews, Jose Delgado. Connor Matthews coming in as a plus 320 underdog, and Jose Delgado coming in as a minus 420 favorite. Not bad odds there. You've got Edmund Shabazian and Dylan Budka. Edmund coming in as a minus 380 favorite over Dylan as a plus 300 underdog. To nobody's surprise, because, well, Dylan's fucking trash, but so is Edmund Shabazian. So I'm thinking that should be more of a coin flip fight, because fuck them both. Like I said, no bias there at all. Okay, maybe a little. Surprisingly enough there, those are not the only wide odds on the card here. Jesus Aguilar, Rafael Estevam. Jesus coming in as a plus 360 underdog. Rafael coming in as a minus 480 favorite. I know there was one other one I wanted to get. Jared Gordon, Mashabran Rizbayev. I'm probably martyring his fucking name, which is perfectly all right. Rizbayev coming in as a plus 275 favorite. Jared Gordon coming in as a minus 350 favorite. So I'm going to jump right into the main event, or the co-main and main, because everything else, like I said, is pretty close to coin flips. The co-main in Calvin Kattar and Yusuf Zalal. Got Calvin Kattar coming in as an underdog at plus 380. You've got Yusuf Zalal coming in as a minus 500 favorite. They're pretty fucking crazy wide odds for Calvin Kattar, who, as Mita pointed out, he's really only lost to the fucking elite of the division. So that's a pretty big fucking leeway that they're giving Yusuf to know that he still hasn't fought the elite of the division because he's got to go through Calvin Kattar to get to them. And your main event in RoboCop and Jared Cannonier, got Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez coming in as a minus 225 favorite over Jared Cannonier as a plus 185 underdog. Not a huge surprise on that one, considering how we've seen Jared Cannonier's, just his recent fights play out and his, I'll say, slow downward spiral, because it hasn't been miserably bad, but you could tell he is not the same guy he used to be. So take all those with a grain of salt. Like I said, I'm using Caesar's odds this week. Depending on where you're looking at odds, they may vary a little bit, sometimes widely. It's all depending on the bookies they've got making the odds. So if you're going to bet, do it responsibly. Like I said, I don't condone it. Whether I do it or not is a different thing, but I'm not telling you to go out and do it. But just choose wisely in what you're going to do. But in the meantime, if you don't want to spend money, you can still make picks over on Tapology. Join our group. It's fucking free.
Thank you very much for that, sir. Much appreciated. And as is more often than not the case, I completely fucking forgot about the combat sports fight menu. So before we get out of here for this evening, I am going to run down that combat sports fight menu for you fine folks, because as I like to say, there is more than just UFC going on this weekend, even though the show predominantly runs around the UFC calendar, because so does every other major fight organization. That being said, ironically, there are only really two cards to be aware of this weekend. The first one is tomorrow morning, as they usually are, bright and fucking early because they're on the other side of the planet. One Friday Fights 97 kicks off at 7:30 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. This one only has 2 MMA matches to open the card, and then it is 10 Muay Thai and 4-ounce gloves to take you through your breakfast of combat sports. And I'm telling you, if you haven't seen it yet, it is fucking spectacular. That being said, the other card, obviously, that is going on this weekend takes place Saturday afternoon, kicking off at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. UFC Vegas 102, Cannonier versus Rodriguez. That is the big one to keep an eye out for. Now, I will say, to keep transparency's sake, there is a boxing card on Sunday, but even the folks that I talk to for my boxing advice have had nothing but fucking crickets to say about it. So if they're not interested in it, I'm not going to tell you that, you know, you should be and pretend that I know what I'm talking about. There is one out there if you're looking for something, but that is all we have got for the combat sports menu for this weekend. That being said, that's not all there is, because when we wrap things up around here, that's not the end of the show. Tomorrow morning and pretty much every Friday, this gentleman, wait, where's he at? No, yeah, he's over here. This gentleman over here and his other half kick off their very own podcast, the Slow Bake and Contemplate podcast, over on Spreaker.com. Links for the podcast, their socials, and their very own channel over on the I'm No Joe Discord server, all down below. Be sure to go check that out and tell them how awesome they are.
Appreciate you, brother. The fun never fucking stops once we get through the weekend and get back to next week. Every fucking week, once you get to hump day, man, you got to tune into the Brother Golf T Vape's YouTube channel. And tune into Foggy Fairway every Wednesday night around 9 o'clock, 9:30, about the same time we do this show. If you're into the vapes, you want to learn some recipes, mixes, just chill, have a good time, show the brother some love. Make sure you tune in. Everything down in the description below for all of his socials, everything that he does as well.
Thank you, sir. Oh, should we tell him? Yeah, I guess I should. Little guy told me the show starts at around 8:30 Central Time. No, for all of you who need something to do over the next couple of days, we're not the only show in town. But we appreciate your business. So, if you want to continue to support, the meter does many things. Go down below, click on the Linktree / the meter does many things, Linktree / I'm No Joe. That will take you to each and every one of the many things that the meter does do to keep you highly entertained. Like I said, we're not the only show, but we appreciate it if you come and check us out on our other shows, including Slow Bake and Contemplate. Those guys too. Go kill some time with us over the week. And then come back here on Thursday and we're going to do it again fucking next week. Woo!
Oh yeah!
Thank you very much. Always appreciate it, sir. So that being said, this is the I'm No Joe podcast. We do this pretty much every Thursday when there are fights to talk about. We do it live over on youtube.com / I'm No Joe. You can catch the replays for the show. They remain over on the live tab on the YouTube channel, but that's not the only thing that goes down on the YouTube channel as well. If you don't feel like or are unable to, for any reason, watch any of the punchy kickies that we talk about on the show, fret not, because there is also a little tab over on the YouTube channel called Shorts. And every time there is a fight finish worth talking about, I will give you at the very least a glimpse of that finish and tell you how the fuck it happened and why you should have been paying attention to us on the show, because we told you that was probably going to happen. But that being said, if you don't want to, I also understand, because we own mirrors. So for that very reason, the week after we go live, we release the show in the all audio format over on anchor.fm / I'm No Joe. You can get it through your podcast consumption platform of choice, Apple, Google, Spotify, you name it. The all audio version is always over there, ready for your enjoyment. If you'd like to help out, patreon.com / I'm No Joe for as little as $1 a month. You get your name on all the ends, and we appreciate you just the same. If you like what we get up to, please make sure you are subscribed wherever you are consuming the show. Give us a thumbs up if you like it. Make sure your notifications are turned on so you don't miss an episode. But on the other side of that coin, if you're here and you don't like what we get up to, first and foremost, what the fuck are you still doing this deep into a podcast you didn't enjoy? Give it a thumbs down and then go fuck yourself. We won't even dispute it. That being said, that is all we've got for this particular episode. So until next time, boys and girls, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening.
How do I say goodbye to what